Hey everybody, and welcome back to People Talking from a Social Distance. I'm here today with Shelly Tranchita, a wonderful human being and great part of our community here at Sycamore High School. She's basically the wellness guru in the building, the person who is responsible for the framework that we've been using over the last couple of years that sort of generated this podcast. So I'd like to welcome her to PTSD. Shelly.
Awesome. I didn't really know that was in there. That's so great. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me. I'm super, super stoked to be here today and be chatting with you. So I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I was told PTSD might be a little on the nose, but I can't stay away from a good acronym.
I dig it. I dig it.
First thing I guess we want to talk about is just those pillars of wellness. Like I said in the intro, you did a lot of work to put that together, and it's been really a nice guiding principle for us in terms of trying to keep staff wellness, especially in these tough times. So if you just want to talk a little bit about the process you went through to create those, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So currently and historically, we operate like staff wellness operates from these 4 pillars, and the pillars are eat, move, sleep, and social. So I developed it just by standing on the shoulders of other giants in the wellness and health field that I follow. These are just all the things that add to like pure wellness, health and wellness. So wellness could be like a very pop culture term right now, you know. Wellness is not a pair of yoga pants, but it is connecting with a neighbor, you know. So that is where it came from. You know, one of my most favorite books ever is Blue Zones. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's just these pockets of the world where people live the longest, and not just the longest, but the healthiest. So at 90 to like 105 years old, they're functioning as like a 50-year-old. They're working out, they're driving cars, they're in their backyards digging gardens and building fences. So one of the things that all the blue zones have in common are these super strong social structures where they feel supported, where they know that if life brings them a fall, they have this like safety net of a social community to catch them. And they also are there for their other neighbors. So, and we're human beings, and we're learning that now in 2020, how important human connection and being social is to our health and our wellness. And I think, that we should be paying so much attention to that. And I am a big believer in doing everything we can to work with this pandemic, and that includes staying apart from each other. I think we should all do everything we can do to lower the rates and to get through this as soon as possible. But I think we just have to be aware and find ways like you're doing now to create socially. So just like with this podcast, like I'm so stoked that we're finding just more avenues to be social. And then yeah, and food goes along with that. You know, if you look at any society or any group of healthy people, their plates, and this might frustrate a lot of people, and I'm not using the word veganism here, so please don't hear me wrong, is plant-based, right? So it's plant-based. So that is different from the veganism. Sometimes veganism, like we had said, turns people off, or is you get this idea of what veganism is. But just plant-based, right? And eating is more important than we think. Eating contributes to your mental health. Eating contributes to your physical health. And if we look at, pre-2020, pre-pandemic, most people in the United States die from obesity or food-related diseases. You know, heart disease is actually what most of us end up passing away from. So food is super, super important. And then move, right? So our bodies were born to move. Look across any physician, any fitness, any wellness, any health person will tell you that you have to move. And I was really careful not to say exercise. There's a difference between like grinding it out at the gym and just moving your body, right? Going for walks. You know, walking is like the one form of exercise that has proven to starve off Alzheimer's. So just move your body in whatever feels right for you in whatever capacity. So move is important. And then sleep. And with sleep, we also kind of put like rest in that pillar as well. We think that we could get by with less sleep sometimes, and we'll be able to, accomplish more in our life. But our bodies, unfortunately, just don't work that way. Our brains don't work that way. We function less, slower. Our behavior changes. We don't get enough sleep. Our personalities have shifts. So it's a really important component of living well and performing well. And all those, are twofold. The reason we have those is A, because you should care about the community that you are a part of, and you should care about other people. But we are teachers who are trying to essentially perform, right? So we're performing every day, and there's like the lid effect, right? Like you could only perform up into how well you're feeling. You've hit your lid. So the higher we feel, the more well we are, the healthier we feel, the higher we're going to function, the higher we will perform, the higher we could take our students, right? Our lid keeps going up. So yeah, thank you for that nice intro, but it's really just standing on the shoulders of people who really study this stuff.
So there's a lot in your answer.
Yeah.
I didn't know that walking staved off Alzheimer's. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I walk every day, and I didn't even know it had a tangential impact on that.
Yeah.
I know in spring I had tried really hard to start making these shifts using those same sort of pillars, and I definitely neglected social and sleep. Those are just because of the situation and because of, like you said, trying to maintain distance. So I can attest, even myself, of how not having that balance ends up causing some problems.
Yeah.
I think as well, just that idea of social being from a distance, as the podcast name, but understanding you can assemble without being in this physical presence of other people. And just, I like that you brought that up, that 2020 sort of causes us or makes us re-examine those things. I know something I've been saying to people a lot is this year has given us all a chance to evolve or devolve. I'm sad to see how many people have chosen the second, but like we're given that chance to sort of reevaluate and then try to, as you said, raise our own lids.
Yeah.
I guess part of this then, if we're talking about standing on shoulders of giants, it would make a nice transition to talking about your passion with yoga. So I tangentially am connected to yoga. My mother owns a studio, and she's always trying to get me to do more stuff. I know I've come to you a couple times like, hey, what can I do for these specific things? I was definitely approaching it wrong, because I was like, what can I do for like core? Like I want to plank and do boat, and that's it. And I was really neglecting the other aspects of what yoga brings to the table. So if you want to talk a little bit about those, that'd be great.
Yeah. So yoga is a passion of mine, and I started, I like dabbled in high school, like just doing yoga, and then I, had a little going on in college, and then I would say, from there is kind of where it began to be like a staple in my life. But probably over the past, 7 years, it's been like almost like a daily ritual of mine, and I've dove into it even deeper. So yoga, if I say the word yoga, people think of what the Sanskrit term of asana, posture, physical, right? But yoga is a complex system, and the physical postures are just one of what they're called 8 limbs, right? So here in the West, we are all addicted to asana posture of yoga, but there's so much more in this world of yoga that is interesting and beneficial and just so neat, and it's scientific, and it's quite genius. And for the system, how old it was, it's so intelligent. Like it's just such an intelligent system. So so I have found that yoga is transformative for me in my life. I, as a Westerner, as an American, definitely got into it as a physical practice, as something to do to gain flexibility and strength. But now it's what keeps me sane. It is more for my mental health than my physical health. I think that, and as I've learned in my life, as I've gotten older, you learn things and you become wiser. And I know that almost as my body is a vehicle for my mental health, my physical health is like is a vehicle for my mental health. There's been nothing in my life that has given me so much relief and so much boost in mental health than my yoga practice. So it's pretty wild, like the intelligence that your body has, and that something physical like this, could have such an impact on your brain and your emotional status. But it's kind of like mind blowing, and in the sense it's also not mind blowing, because how great do you feel after going for a walk? Like your body was just meant to move. Our bodies are all meant to move. So for me, yoga is one of those things that just super connects me physically and inspires me and motivates me to move my body. Um, and yeah, it's a daily practice. So I practice Ashtanga Yoga. Asha is 8, Tanga is limb. It's an 8-limb practice of yoga, so it studies all the limbs of yoga. In the asana world, it's a series-based yoga, so there's 6 series, and you work through them one-on-one with a teacher. So it's like a project-based learning experience almost. It's not a lead class that you would go to in like a perhaps traditional setting. When you go to an Ashtanga yoga class, it's usually 3 hours long, and you can kind of come and go as you want. You unroll your mat and then you do your practice, and the teacher comes around and helps you and supports you. So project-based learning, right? The students have this project, the teacher is there to walk alongside them, guide them, offer them the knowledge and what they need as they need it. Yeah, so it's a huge part of my life, and it's a huge part of how I feel and function at higher levels. So I'm super happy to whenever I get to share yoga with anyone.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like that was always, again, with my mother owning a studio. She was like, you should come to a class. Like, I don't want to go to a class. I don't want to be around other people. I want to yoga myself. So
Yeah.
I think like the Ashtanga.
Ashtanga. Yeah.
I think the other thing you said in there that was interesting. I know I was trying to do a little bit of reading to come to the table with something. Another one of the translations for yoga is just any sort of ritual practice, any sort of coming together in some sort. So again, to push the podcast as much as I possibly can. Anything where you're sort of in communion and you're thinking about the mental physical connection. There's that spirit of yoga in that. So I think that's kind of cool as well.
It's huge. There's a saying in yoga that there's 4 things, and I hope I remember right now. There's 4 things that are responsible for a positive and successful yoga practice. It's 25% your teacher, it's 25% your community, 25% is you, and 25% is time. So when you put those 4 things together, you could find success. But when one is lacking, you stumble, you have struggles and challenges. And that applies like so many things, I think.
Yeah, awesome. I think the other thing that makes me think of is obviously, like you said, the boost to mental health, and the fact that in this time we're all looking for ways to be able to boost our mental and physical health. I know, as I had shared before in the Take 10, I try to do that with writing, but that doesn't really inspire me to move so much. That's more of the keeping the brain active and the brain moving. But I think there's some connection there with that in terms of the meditative aspects of both practices. So I know you've also graciously shared your time to do meditations with the staff before. Would you care to talk a little bit about how meditation plays a part in your life?
Absolutely. And I do want to say that your Take 10 that you shared with us on Wednesday, November 5th, was it, or 4th, was quite genius. So I wish we almost had recorded it. It was brilliant. And I know, because so many people who were a part of that kept commenting on how wonderful it was and how cool of an approach to wellness it was. So kudos to you. Awesome. We appreciate you sharing. And yeah, quite brilliant. Meditation. So meditation is really tough. It's really tough, and it's super powerful. So I did a course this summer because, again, I was trying to find ways to be social as we were isolated, and part of it was to meditate for 30 minutes a day. And I meditate, but I would meditate like 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here at the most, or go to a class and they talk you through it. Right, I guess like skimming the surface of meditation. But when you're required to sit 30 minutes on your own and you got to sit for yourself for 30 minutes, it's super challenging. But again, it's so transformative. It's like, those 30 minutes that I had, for 6 weeks, we were going to do it for 30 minutes a day. And that 30 minutes a day was like worth like, a year of time of learning about yourself. It's, you learn about how quick you are to react. You learn about aversions from pain and discomfort, like how quick, my back hurts. Well, I want to move. You know what I mean? Like just avert from whatever is discomfort. And it was like you feel things in your body, like you feel, emotions are physical. And, I had anxiety during this time, and I still do. Like I could feel it coming up. And what I've learned, through meditation is that you just have to feel everything. You have to sit with yourself and feel everything. And that's the only way for it to pass through you. So I do 15 minutes a day before I do my yoga practice. I sit down and just do 15 minutes quietly of breath focused meditation. Not only does it have all those things that I was just talking about, but it's a beautiful time to sit and just be quiet in a world where, especially now, like I get notifications and notifications and notifications, and I'm on a screen. It's so nice just to sit and be quiet, in the morning when it's not too light out. Like it's just this really beautiful experience. And yeah, it's tough. So, I'm doing meditation with my mind body students, and you just have to endure some things. You have to endure being discomfort. You have to endure wanting to quit. You have to endure, there's so much. It's really hard, but you reap the benefits. So
Yeah, I would agree. Having started to try to do similar things myself, I end up doing them normally at night, which goes into the sleep pillar as well in terms of turning off all the electronics, turning off all the screens, giving myself at least an hour to just quietly contemplate things, maybe read a book, maybe just sit quietly, like anything to sort of do that downshifting that becomes important. And I would agree that I guess that was what was always turned me away from meditation, was that awareness of self, right? Like I already feel hyper aware of myself. So to give a even more presence of that in my life seemed sketchy. But that's a mindset shift as well. Like, are we going to run away from the things that we are discomforted by, and like you said, or we are averse to, or are we going to try to embrace them to let them sort of work through? Which again, in my mind, ties back to that idea of writing a lot as well, in terms of how to externalize those things and push them off to the boundaries so that you can look at them with some objectivity.
absolutely.
That's the other thing that's been hard for me with the meditation is the voices, right? Like you do meditations, I'm always, I don't know, maybe I'm overly picky. I know I hate the sound of my own voice through like a microphone, but it's always like, then I'm focused on like, well, why has this person got a slightly British accent? That seems like so.
I know. That's so funny. Andy from Headspace, which I've done meditation with Headspace for the staff before, and he has a British accent. So maybe that's who you're referring to.
Yeah, it is. So we hit on the other ones. I guess we might as well hit on eat as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how I ended up coming out of the quarantine healthier than I started, because I was also neglecting this at the very beginning, but had to make some changes in terms of like, okay, I can't just eat whatever I want, because like I'm just here and it's just what's around me. So you've already clarified before, speaking about veganism. You want to talk more about that, or just eat in general as a construct?
Yeah. Huge believer in like what's on your plate affects your life. Like huge believer. That's we can go so many ways with this. So I'm vegan. I've been vegan for 8 years. It's one of the best things I've ever done for my life. Where it started is not where it is right now. It started as pure health. Just through my research and my readings and what I was paid attention to, it started off with health. It's morphed over time. Health is always like a thread that goes through it. It still is. But it's expanded into compassion and environmentalism as well. So those are the three things that tie me to veganism: my health, compassion, and the environment. So veganism is a loaded word, especially like you had mentioned. Like it's a pop culture word now, so it carries a lot of things with it. So, and there's different types of vegans. Like there's people who just want to be vegan for the compassion. So, fun fact, Oreos are vegan. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're going to eat healthy. So that's why I always try to talk about it in terms of you'll be plant-based. You want to eat your vegetables and, your fruits as much as possible. And that, that doesn't exclude anything. So like if someone's trying to say, I want to eat healthier, I want to eat less meat, I never say stop eating meat. I just say eat as much fruit and vegetables as you possibly can. Then when you're done, eat something else, you know. But yeah, it's a huge thing in my life. And I was talking with my students we talk about self-care during this time and being at home and how to take care of yourself. And like, what is a non-negotiable for you? Like, what's in your day is non-negotiable? You're like, no, this is going to happen to take care of myself. This is non-negotiable for me, right? And being a vegan is non-negotiable for me. So, if I go somewhere and what I deem is not appropriate for me not to eat, I'm okay saying thank you, but no thank you. I'm not going to eat this. It took me a while to get there, to be comfortable with myself and with what I want to be doing. But and then you get really smart. You figure it out. When you're on the road where you can grab food, or what to pack, or what you like and what you don't like, how to order off a menu. But yeah, that's a huge part of my health, my wellness, and my greater being of love in the world, if I could say that.
Yeah, you can say that. That's fine.
Okay.
I think that's because we had talked before we started recording about that buzzwordiness of it, and like I had said off record, so I'll say it on record now as well. Like from a health and ecological standpoint, environmental standpoint, totally makes complete and total sense. Like it's hard to argue with the logic in terms of production and the way that food is produced, specifically in this country. Although we are out in South County, so maybe we shouldn't talk too much about that. But I think even having people who are vegan demystify the word a little bit, right? Like just really clarify it, because you get so many different ideas of what you think it is versus what it actually is. Which I guess we could say the same thing about yoga. We could say the same thing about a lot of what we talked about today. I guess you can also your fourth pillar could be for that, like being an ambassador for veganism, right?
Yeah.
Helping others realize that it's not so much of a big deal that they think it might be.
Yeah, you have to open your mind, kind of what you said, like veganism for me can be different than what it is for you. Yoga for me can be different than what it is for you, right? We all experience things in different ways, and yeah, there's no judgment that comes along with it.
I mean, wellness, same thing, right? What we all bring to the table for wellness is different, and what we're all passionate about in terms of wellness and what we bring with that. So
that's right. The more diverse we are, the stronger we are. So
indeed, yeah. Monoliths don't last very long, right? Everyone does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of stuff, which has been great. I know we had talked about jokes, which I'd still like to get to. I don't know if you're going to be sharing a joke or if you're just going to talk about jokes in general. I'm really interested. I took down the name of the book you mentioned, Blue Zones. Are there any other books that maybe you want to mention or give a plug to? They don't necessarily have to be about wellness, just in general. Like, what are you reading? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm right now I'm reading The Body Keeps the Score, which is I'm in just like the chapter 2. I just kind of have it going, but that's about how your body affects how you feel. So it started with veterans and their PTSD and how that affects, their PTSD has affected them physically. And it's just all about, your body keeps a score. Your body produces what your mind thinks sometimes. Blue Zones, if someone asks me for a wellness book, that's what I recommend. It's so easy and so digestible and so fun to read, and so good-hearted that is, there's a lot of books, but that's one that I recommend. Dr. Dean Ornish, who was one of President Clinton's physicians when he was the president, is genius and also puts out a lot of books. He has many books. I think his last book was called like Eat Less, Move More, Love More. I don't know, something like that. But it was really good too. It's a bit tougher to get through, but he has some great content. There's lots of books out there, but I would say if I'm going to talk about one, Blue Zones is the best, most broad one that I could offer.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but those are great. Those are all great. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I guess the last thing we got to talk about is jokes. So I don't know if you would put that as a topic as a joke in and of itself, which if it was, it got me. But do you have a joke to tell, or just jokes that certain jokes you like? What do you got for us?
I don't have any jokes to tell. When we were talking about topics, I really wasn't sure. So I was just rambling and I was like, I like to laugh, jokes. And jokes are so important now. Like, if you like a comedian, like go watch 20 minutes of a YouTube of your favorite comedian and just laugh until your stomach hurts. Like laughing reduces endorphins. It makes you feel better. It's good for your brain and your body. I think in this setting too, the more that we could laugh, the better it is for us. Things are heavy enough, all around, and you can get caught in, I certainly did get caught in like, the news cycle, what's happening next, and just being down. Because let's be real, things are really rough, and we need to acknowledge that and be aware of that. But we can't get stuck in the cycle of living there. So yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say I agree. I think there's that fine line though in 2020, right? Because like using humor as a tool to help process is great. Using humor as a tool to deflect can become problematic, right? So that's another one of those fine lines I've been trying to guide myself through, because I can make a joke of anything, but I know that's not necessarily the best way to move forward, especially during a global pandemic, right?
I know.
I had a really bad dad joke I was telling the kids, which was when we still thought they were coming back on the 4th. I was like, oh man, the 4th is going to be rough. It's going to be a massacre.
I thought you were going to say like, may the 4th be with you or something.
So, well, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the conversation we were able to have. Like I said, you've made a lot of things work for us within the building with that framework that you were able to put in place. And so I appreciate it. I'm sure the wellness committee appreciates it, and the whole community at large does. So thank you. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate all that, Greg, and right back at you. So thank you.